Night Rants on the Better Sports Network. What is going on, everybody? Somebody has a case of the Monday. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And well, Bob's your own. Rants on the Street with Thomas Stevens. Shout out to my producer, Tyler Heavy T Soto. Boom. Yes. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday Night Rants on the Better Sports Network, at Better Network, and all your favorite social media platforms. I, of course, am Edward Raus, at Edward Raus, at all your favorite social media platforms as well. Woo! What a night we have going on tonight. Some do or dies happening as we speak at the moment here on Monday Night Rants. Woo! We got the Oilers and Panthers in the Stanley Cup. Game 7. The Oilers coming back from an 0-3 deficit to win 3 in a row to force the Game 7. It's currently 1-1 in the first intermission. Now, I picked the Oilers to win the whole damn thing in our preseason picks. I also picked the Celtics to win the whole thing in our preseason picks. So I am going on top of my game right now. I'm hoping for the Oilers. The first time since 1993 a Canadian team won the championship in their own sport. I'm rooting for the Oilers tonight. I'm going to admit it. 1-1. We'll see what happens. We'll follow live as the game goes further along. Again, first intermission, 1-1. I know a lot of my buddies out there were betting the over on this one. You're on track for 6. So hopefully that hits as well. On the other side of things, we have the College World Series in a do-or-die matchup, Game 3, between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, I did place a futures bet on Tennessee to win the College World Series a couple months ago. And here we are right now. It's currently 3-1. Tennessee in the top of the 6. However, the Aggies have 2 on and 1 out. Could ruin my day there as well. But I'm on top of the world right now. The Nostradamus of picking champions. And I love it. But what a show we have for you tonight. Besides all the drama and everything going on in the world of baseball and hockey and football, we get a little bit more on that later. We got Heavy T coming on as well. We're going to do What Say Ye, Heavy T. And I have a very important question I need to ask him. But we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, like I said. And by the way, this episode, I pulled some clips for this episode. And not safe for work, people. So hopefully your kids aren't listening, because there's a couple of F-bombs in some of the clips I pulled for tonight. And I mean, hey, he said it at a press conference, so more on that later in the rant lines. And also, after Heavy T is done, I will have my NBA draft preview. I'm not going to lie, my fellow ranters. This could be, and I mean, probably one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA. I did a ton of research over the weekend to get ready for the show. And boy, oh boy. When the top player is compared to Tobias Harris, we have a problem. Last year was week 2. Last year was a really weak NBA draft too, but Wembanyama kind of overshadowed that, right? There ain't no Wemby this year. It's rough. More on that later, and I'll give you my like top 10, who I think's going where, and all that good stuff coming up. So, like I said, great show tonight. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of fun and following live on the College World Series. I got double screens and also the NHL Stanley Cup Game 7 matchup between the Panthers and the Oilers. Without further ado, though, we must jump into the rant lines. A lot to talk about tonight, and there's going to be some F-bombs here really quickly, so bear with me here. Right on cue! The Lakers have a new coach. Now, it wasn't their first choice. Obviously, Dan Hurley was their first choice, and they were going to pay him a lot of money to come and coach in the NBA. But like I talked about a couple weeks ago, college coaches don't want to come to the NBA. The NBA coaching carousel is insane, and it's pretty much everyone gets a turn. More on that after this one. However, JJ Redick was, after a lot of speculation and them wanting Dan Hurley instead, Dan Hurley saying, nah, I'm good, man. I got it set over here, like most college coaches in basketball do, because college basketball coaches going to the NBA don't have a great, history, like we talked about. But JJ Redick is the new coach of the Lakers. That's right. JJ Redick, the long term Clipper. And by the way, the actor, if you guys have seen Clipped, if you've seen Clipped on FX, and I'm a Clippers fan, it is unbearable to me. I know it's getting good reviews and ratings and whatnot. I cannot stand it. I'm like, that's not JJ Redick. That's not Chris Paul. That is definitely not Blake Griffin. All you did is take a African-American guy and dye his hair red. It's stupid. And the guy who's playing Blake Griffin is not even as big as the guy playing Chris. I can't do it. I can't do it as a Clippers fan. I'm trying. Good old Ed Bundy. Ed Bundy. Anyways, more on that later. More on that for another rant. But how do I feel about this hire for the Lakers? I mean, not their first choice, their second choice. They didn't go back to the coaching carousel, which they've done in the past. So this is a new head coach. They didn't say, okay, we'll get Atkinson, or we'll just hire someone else who may have had success for one season on another team. So that's good. Do I think JJ Redick can be a good head coach? I think he's a very smart basketball mind. Not sure how he is as a leader. Now, a lot of people have been coming out against JJ and saying he's not a good head coach. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. He's heard a lot of this. He's a podcaster. He's an announcer. He's not a head coach. Can he lead the Lakers, who's like one of the most loved franchises in the NBA? One of the most, well, not anymore, but winningest franchise, not the winningest franchise, the second winningest franchise in the NBA, to a championship with this team, with what he has in front of him. What's LeBron going to do? Does LeBron have a say? Is Anthony Davis going to actually play more than 60 games in a season? A lot of questions here on this Lakers team that a new head coach who doesn't have any experience coaching at all, by the way, is coming into. So it's a little concerning if you're a Lakers fan. The best part, though, was his reaction to all this, which I loved.
Valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question, because I really don't give a fuck. Like, honestly, I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I fucking care about.
Hey, Coach Timothy.
JJ Redick doesn't give a fuck about what you have to say, what I have to say, what anyone has to say about why This first-time coach who has no coaching experience is going in there and he's going to do the best he can and create his own legacy. I love that. I love it. For him to come out that boldly and that strongly and say, I don't care what you have to say, media, even though LA is one of the biggest media platforms of the world. He doesn't care. He's going to focus on his job and why he's here. And I agree with it. And I'm a Clippers fan. I love it. I absolutely love it. He come out and said, I don't care. I'm going to do the best I can and make my own legacy. But how many coaches who has never coached a single game get a chance to come in and coach the Los Angeles Lakers? It's crazy. So kudos to JJ Redick, and hopefully it all works out. And this isn't an Antonio Pierce situation here in Los Angeles. Now, going over to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they got a new coach today as well. That, of course, is Kenny Atkinson. Now, I talked about this ad nauseum all the time about how the NBA coaching carousel is just everyone getting a turn, right? Right? It's everyone getting a turn. I could go into detail about what that means at a party, but I'm not. But Kenny Atkinson, now here we are. Now, they had a chance to get James Borrego, but they said, no, we want Kenny Atkinson because Kenny Atkinson apparently, and this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Kenny Atkinson knows how to work with big men. Now, Kenny Atkinson has been a assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. And before that, he was also obviously the Nets coach. And he did have some success with some big men there. And Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, before his bad injury. But I have to ask questions here because they have Mobley, right? Evan Mobley, who, by the way, has been playing really good. And you're in the East. And in the East, it's easier to win because there's only really one good team. That's the Boston Celtics. They just happen to be the best team in the NBA. But here you are. Is Kenny Atkinson the right man for the job? Now, this is a guy who coached or assistant coach for the Warriors. And wasn't James Wiseman a big guy who they drafted? And wasn't he traded? And couldn't do anything with him? Just say it. I'm not a fan of this hire. I'm not a fan of Atkinson. I never have been. He also has a 383 record as a head coach in the NBA. Not a leader. I don't like it. I thought that Cleveland was looking up to be one of the better teams in the East. They had a solid season, similar to last year. But it's now in my eyes, next year, it's Boston and the Pacers and a huge drop-off before you get to the Knicks and the Cavaliers and anyone else. The East has issues in the NBA, and Kenny Atkinson is not going to take the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm sorry. I will eat crow. I swear to God, I will do anything. Put it in the chat. I will do anything if Kenny Atkinson leads the Cleveland Cavaliers to a NBA Finals championship. Anything. I mean, anything. That's how confident I am that he will not. So shout out to the Cavaliers. Good luck. He's a terrible head coach. All right, here we go. Going on some good news or some big news. Some big news in basketball. Guess what? The Florida Gators have recently brought on a new player. This player is named Olivier Raus, and he is officially now the tallest basketball player in the world ever. How big? Well, how about 7'9", 290 pounds? This dude can slam dunk without even jumping. He joins the Florida Gators men's basketball team. We'll see if he redshirts. We'll see if he plays. Now, these tall guys, they make news. Obviously, I'm talking about it right now, and they do for good reason. They're huge. They're hard to guard in college, especially in college. Look at Zach Edey. But a lot of these players who are really tall players, when they get to NBA level or after college, they don't really succeed. There's only a handful of them who's ever been like superstars that actually went to a solid career in the NBA. Yao Ming had a few good years, but what happened to him? Injuries. It's always injuries. Manute Bol is another one that comes to mind. Taco Fall recently, when from the Celtics, he only played in a handful of games. In garbage time, he's out of the NBA. Yeah, they're great stories, but these tall players don't really translate to the NBA. So it'll be interesting to see his career. Obviously, these guys make huge strides in college because they're so big. He's probably going to have a good career at Florida. He's probably going to be up there in double-doubles and whatnot because he can't be guarded. But for some reason, the transition to the NBA for players over, we'll say 7'2", 7'3", just doesn't seem to translate. And I find that kind of weird. But I wish this big man all the luck. He seems like a cool kid. I mean, you can slam dunk without jumping. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. But we'll see how it translates. And I wish him the best success. But again, here we are. Tall guy. Awkward in basketball. Remember when it used to be all short people in basketball? And it was like, oh, and then like, here comes Wilt Chamberlain. And it's like, oh, change the game. But now we come to a point where there's a happy medium. You can't be under 6 foot, but you also really can't be over 7. I find that interesting. So should you. Baseball talk. Not good baseball talk, by the way. Not good at all. Excuses for Olivis Martinez, prospect for the Toronto Blue Jays organization. His dream was to play in the Major League Baseball. And what did he do? He played in Major League Baseball for a week. Because it turns out he popped positive for PEDs. Now, this story gets weird. It's 80 games he's suspended for, which is right. Now, his excuse was that he has spent 2 years trying to have a baby, but he couldn't have a baby because his swimmers weren't swimming very well, if you know what I'm saying. So for 2 years, this dude was trying to have a baby. By the way, keep in mind, this guy's like 21, 22 years old, okay? So for 2 years, he's trying to have a baby. It's between him and his family. Let's keep it a secret. So he started taking a fertility drug. This fertility drug has a steroid in it. His doctor from Puerto Rico told him it's okay to take. Why not? And that's his excuse for why he had PEDs in his system. All right, Tatis's excuse was stupid as well. He's guilty. This is guilt written all over it. There's no way that this man who's trying to come up in the MLB, and I could be completely wrong and have egg on my face, has been trying to have a baby for the last 2 years and not focusing on his actual career and trying to make Major League Baseball. But to blame it on something like that just seems like another excuse. And it's weird that there's older players in baseball who could also be having the same situation that Mr. Martinez had here that haven't been popped for PEDs and used it as an excuse. You think that he's the only one trying to have a baby that can't. Out of all the players and minor league players in Major League Baseball. Come on, man. Own it. No more excuses. And I'm a Padres fan. I'll tell Tatis the same thing for what happened to him too. That was BS. Own it and own it and own it. You ain't trying to have a baby the last 2 years at the age of 20, dude. Sorry. You did steroids because you wanted to go to the MLB. Own it. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Speaking of owning it. Oh, man. Here we are. Once again, the fall of Edwin Diaz has been an absolute, I'm not going to say fun thing to watch because it's been kind of sad. First of all, the guy's the best closer in baseball. He goes and does the World Baseball Classic, and while celebrating with his team, blows out his complete knee. There goes his season. He comes back from the injury, and he's been absolutely garbage, gets pulled from the closer role. And excuses again. Here comes Edwin Diaz, suspended 10 games for foreign substance on his hand after being checked by the umpires. Now, he said he does this all the time. He said it was just rosin, sweat, and dirt. Well, maybe it was, but I have a picture for you, my fellow ranters. So let's take a look at this, and you tell me if this is just dirt, rosin, and sweat. First of all, no sweat to be had there. That is a dry-ass hand. And that looks like some sticky tar stuff. I'm just telling you what I see. But that looks a little guilty to me. 10 games, more excuses. And it gets even the umpire said, nah, man, we check these pitchers' hands multiple times throughout the season, thousands and thousands of times since 2021. That was clearly sticky. Okay? Since 2021, 8 pitchers have been suspended for the same thing. I'm sorry, 9. 9 pitchers have been suspended. I'm not going to give you their names, but I will tell you this. Of those teams who had pitchers suspended since 2021 from having whatever foreign substance on their fingers, 3 of them were New York Mets pitchers. And not a single other team has more than 1. Do we have a Houston Astros conspiracy here, people? I don't know. I'll let you do the googs. Real quick on this one. Another one! We talked about it last week, Ronald Acuna, and then we had Mookie Betts, and now Tatis, another injury. MLB has an injury problem with their stars. And by the way, if MLB wants to do anything right now, anything to try to save this season of just negativity, I just sat here and the headlines from MLB were all negative. Well, now Tatis hits the IL, another superstar, leaving the playing field to help the MLB. Yet Bryce Harper continues to have the best season of his career, and nobody's talking about it. Come on, MLB. Get your shit together. Let's go. Let's celebrate this man, Bryce Harper, right now. And I don't even like the Phillies, but do something. Everything's negative with the MLB. Everything. PEDs. Injuries. Suspended for having clearly black tar on your hand. Edwin Diaz, come on. Man, in the world of pictures and videos nowadays, people sure do get screwed. But the problem with the MLB continues. We talked about it last week. Where's Rogers? He is still missing. Does anybody know where this man is? Not even Julian Edelman knows where he is, but Julian Edelman pretty much said this man's a moron. Julian Edelman said he should be should have been at minicamp as a leader of his team, but he is nowhere to be found. The Jets said it was a personal event that he wanted to go to. He is still nowhere to be. Where are the milk cartons with Aaron Rodgers' picture on them, people? Where are they? Well, normally right now before I bring Heavy T on, I do but first this. But this is a very special but first this because somebody on the internet has solved it. They have solved the Aaron Rodgers saga. And I can't wait for you to see this. I can't wait for Heavy T to see this because it is amazing. It has been solved, people. So where's Aaron Rodgers? Well, this guy seems to have all the answers, and I'm starting to believe him.
Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, right? He blew out his leg. First game of the season last year. He's on a new team. heartbreaking injury, right? And he worked his ass off to recover from this injury. He tried to return in the same season that this injury happened. That's unheard of. But now he is back. He is fucking healed up. He's ready to go. Practices for next season are starting. Everything's looking good. Practice started, but where the fuck is Aaron Rodgers? He's not at the first day of the mandatory mini camp. Is he hurt? No. This dude had a bad trip on some crazy shit, and now he's seeing the fucking Hat Man, and he's on a retreat in Costa Rica so the Hat Man will stop fucking following him around. He is repeatedly seeing a dark, shadowy figure, the fucking Hat Man, and he is sometimes, only sometimes, holding a rabbit that is not alive, I guess. So if you watch Aaron Rodgers this next season and wonder why he's throwing fucking piss missiles to absolutely nobody, it's probably just the fucking Hat Man running the dirtiest quick slant you've ever fucking seen.
Heavy T, we've solved it.
I don't know, man. I tell you what, it's not the Hat Man, but it could very well be the ghost of Brett Favre. So
It's not the Hat Man. I mean, that guy. I believe that guy. I think he had a bad trip and saw the Hat Man.
the sad part is that what the Hat Man really was is probably just some random Costa Rican worker in a hat. So that's hilarious, man. That's honestly pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw that. It started dying. I said, finally the saga's solved. We know he's seeing shadows in his room.
Oh man,
you're up on social media, right?
Very much so.
Before we get into what say ye, Heavy T,
Oh, dear
what
God.
the hell is Hakta? What is Hakta? What is Hakta? Why is this a thing? Why is this a thing?
First off, it's Haktua.
Whatever.
Like when you're about to you're gathering up like all the phlegm in your throat and you're about to spit a loogie. It's like, and then you make like that, and then like the spit is like the tua part, right?
No, the spit's the part. Well, how did she get tua out of that?
Because some people will be like, you just spit it.
No, that sounds like vomiting. Okay,
that's not vomiting. I don't know what kind of vomiting you're looking at. But that's not vomiting.
Right.
So,
why is this big?
So she's implying that when a lovely lady that may be very interested in you wants to get to know you better.
Don't worry, I already warned everyone. This will be a very not safe for work show tonight.
Okay, sometimes you just gotta on that thing, dude. Yeah. So now you get it.
Oh,
that's the PGest way I could have said that.
I don't want any of that loogie ass snot crap. Okay, never mind. Okay, moving on.
Hey, look, if it's as long as you're not sick, I ain't opposed to it.
Who do you got tonight? Right now, 1-1 in the second period. You got Edmonton. You got Florida. Who you got?
I've been watching this game.
As long as you're not sick, I'd post that up to.
I've been watching this game. I really want Florida.
No, boo.
No, I really want to see Florida win this. It's going to be close. I'm going to give a slight edge to Florida, but both teams are playing lights out right now. They're all over the ice. So this is going to easily be which team gets gassed first. So, but
that would be anti-Florida then, because Oilers just keep on going.
Not necessarily, because the Edmonton has used all their energy in these past 3 games. So if it gets down to the third period and this thing is still tied, or if Florida goes up 1 and Edmonton starts panicking, then I think we're seeing Florida win. I think as far as the stamina game goes, I think Florida holds out just a little bit longer.
Okay, well, I obviously want to be right about everything I talk about. So if this hits, and right now, by the way, Tennessee in the College World Series, who was my pick, is up 3-1. However, here come the Aggies again. I will be like on top of this world because I picked the Celtics preseason. I picked the Oilers preseason. I picked Tennessee to win the College World Series. I picked Denver Nuggets last year to win the NBA. I didn't pick the Texas Rangers, people. Let's not get crazy. But but I'm on a roll here.
So what you're saying is you know ball is what you're saying.
I know ball, baby. I'm on a roll of a lifetime. So for all your futures needs, go to MondayNightRants.com.
Yeah, I'm still. Hey, and don't forget who correctly called the outcome of the NFC Championship preseason last year.
You did.
Just starting out
You
there.
did. You did.
I said
You
Niners
did.
over
Dude,
Lions.
this is the show of record for people that want futures. Like we're crushing it. We're crushing.
Don't ask me golf futures. I got nothing.
it.
Do Scotty Scheffler. He's pretty hot right now. So like, do him. That's pretty much it.
A white guy. Probably right.
Throw a dart on the board.
Yeah. All right. So, what say ye, Heavy T? What do you got for us tonight?
Not much, man. You know, we're finally getting to the dog, like the true dog days of summer, where it's just like literally after tonight, it is just baseball.
It sucks because baseball's been so negative with all the news.
So I heard what you mentioned about like how, you know, Harper's having one of his best years of his career. I would not know that because with everything that I see on baseball, specifically ESPN, it's Ohtani this, Ohtani that. You know, there's 29 other teams.
PED, gambling this, PED suspension,
there's 29
suspension.
other teams in the goddamn league. Okay. And there's what, 25 guys for those 29 teams? It's like, dude, there's a ton more people we could be talking about. But it's always Ohtani. Like, it's getting to the point where, like,
let's talk about Jerks and Profar having one of the career years of any baseball player. Like, no one's talking about it.
ESPN put out an article this morning about their, you know, basically the halfway point, you know, what they're talking about. They said one of their biggest surprises is actually Jerks and Profar. He's actually doing pretty well.
Dude, there's two players on the Padres team that can win the batting title. That is dumb.
Yeah, and I gotta give credit. I hate this team, so I hate giving credit. But hey, the Yankees may have found something in Lucas Gill. That guy can throw. He's a pretty good pitcher. He's probably looking at like your rookie of the year right now.
Yeah, he's had his issues with injuries and stuff too in the past. What about Ben Rice, man, coming up and like Ben Rice for the Yankees too. So I mean, the Yankees are looking up right now, but we see this script how many times over since the 90s? Like,
I mean, no, you're correct. However, this team actually looks decent. They look like they're actually going to be pretty good. They'll need Schmidt back because the pitching staff is a little thin. But yeah, they needed a first baseman, and I believe they went out and got a first baseman. So it's
because Rizzo.
They're actually, well, I mean, he's also hurt, but he's actually, you know, actually, that's something worth mentioning. I was literally talking to my brother the other day. It is insane how far the members of that 2016 Cubs team have immensely fallen off. Like Chris Bryant, absolutely nothing.
Does he even play anymore for them?
I have no idea. He's still in Colorado, I think, right?
Oh God.
I would say Rizzo has been a shell of his former self, and he was supposed to be the best one of the three. Schwarber can still hit a bomb, but that's all he can do because that dude strikes out a ton.
He's a great fantasy player, though, in baseball.
And Javi Baez is just flat out terrible.
He's garbage.
He's
so bad. So
the four core dudes, I guess you could say Chicago sold when they had to, and they hit they hit it on the coffin. Because those four core dudes are awful. They are terrible. So and they're not bad. I know like some people on Twitter are saying like, you know, they're freaking out and they're bad. They're not bad. Same thing with the Mets. And I know you mentioned it with the Edwin Diaz thing, which I thought was incredibly hilarious. They're not that bad either.
No, and the Mets have been on for the last month have been on a roll here.
All hail Grimace. All hail Grimace.
Now that's a tough. It was the Grimace. It was Grimace.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is? I forgot to. I may have sent this to you, but there was a radio guy in New York who basically called Grimace a purple fat ass, and that he should be given no credit for the Mets turning it around.
Oh, hell yeah!
First off, it's a joke, dude. Relax. You know, obviously that's
people take shit so seriously sometimes.
But I was gonna say, but you know how superstitious people are,
especially in baseball. It's like the most superstitious sport there is.
And then you have this New York dude. Just be glad your team is fucking winning for
finally. You had a slow start to the season. Everyone's giving you crap, and now you're actually winning, having a great June so far, looking good. It's a tough division. You're in a tough division.
It's an incredibly tough division. Yeah, man.
But I mean, wild cards in your future here. Yeah. So
the wild cards in that future. Yeah. So I mean, baseball's been fun to watch, though. I think for the most part.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the guys on my fantasy team grow, although they keep getting hurt all the damn time.
That's baseball right now. Everyone's
Bro,
getting hurt.
I had who was it? I had the Rockies catcher, I think Diaz.
Yeah.
So I had him. This dude came back, played like a game, and then got hurt again. I was like, cool, love that.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Giancarlo Stanton, speaking of the Yankees, who almost made it halfway through his season without getting hurt until he
I know,
did.
it's kind of
It is a shout out. Shout out. Give a round of applause to Giancarlo Stanton for that amazing run he had.
That's another dude who.
I'm sorry, Mike Stanton, not Giancarlo, whatever his real name is nowadays. I don't know.
That's another dude who immensely fell off. I mean, like, he was amazing in Miami and with those Marlins teams. And then he comes to the Yankees, and he does okay for his couple years. But
dude,
he just
Mike Stanton, amazing. Giancarlo Stanton.
Pray for your boy over there, but oh well. Moving on.
All right. So baseball, you said we're halfway through. You can see what we see. A lot of interesting surprises here. You know, the Diamondbacks not being as good, the Rangers not being as good, the two teams that were in the World Series last year.
The Diamondbacks not being as good is a little surprising. I knew the Rangers were going to. That was a massive fluke of a title. And I will willingly go on record saying that in 5 years, we're going to be looking at the Rangers World Series victory the same way we look at the Nationals World Series victory. Absolute fluke, one and done. That is not a good team. They are also incredibly – they get incredibly hurt. That DeGrom contract that they gave out last year was 5 years, I think it was absolute disaster. He's hardly played for them. On top of that, you trade for Scherzer. He's hardly played. I guess it paid off slightly in the playoffs, but no, you're going to be looking at that as an absolute fluke of a title. They are not that good of a team.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Which
is sad because they have some parts that I do like. First off, I think Adolis Garcia is way overrated.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He
had a really good run in the playoffs last year, all the way through. Obviously, the World Series win, but he's not that. He's he reminds me a lot of remember Chris Davis.
He reminds me. That's a good example. He reminds me a lot of. I think you remember this guy. Do you remember Daniel Murphy? Like his mega
Daniel Murphy was a 300 hitter though. During a couple of years,
nobody knew who he was.
I know, but Chris Davis was 220, but he would hit bombs.
Mets fans didn't even know
Daniel Murphy.
Daniel Murphy was, yeah.
All right, do you know who has the best record in the MLB right now?
It's Yankees, Dodgers, Oilers.
No.
Oh, it is just the Yankees and Dodgers. Okay.
No, the Dodgers are falling behind, my friend. The Dodgers are 48 and 31. The Philadelphia Phillies. I was
there on Friday when they
lost. Philadelphia Phillies are 51 and 26. The second best record in MLB.
Of, but the problem is that Philly hasn't really played anybody. I think most of the teams they played are below 500.
Yeah,
I was looking it up.
I kind of want to put some money on Bryce Harper MVP now. I mean, maybe. NL MVP. Who else? Ohtani, I guess. But
that's probably your big one.
But if the Philadelphia Phillies end up having a better record in the way he's playing right now, I like it. And also, by the way, the Cleveland Guardians have a better record than Los Angeles Dodgers right now, too.
Do they really?
Yeah, they're 50 and 26, dude.
I didn't realize the Guardians were that good.
Dude, they've been slowly this whole season just dominating.
But that's what okay, that kind of goes back to my earlier point. I don't know what's happening in baseball because it's Ohtani.
No, well, yeah.
If you could have told me the Guardians had a losing record, and I'd be like, yeah, I believe that. You told me that
nobody's as bad as the Chicago White Sox, but yeah, that's good.
No, that's true. But no, you just told me the Guardians are one of the best teams in baseball. I was like,
they are.
What?
Yeah, 50 and 26. Yes, they do play in what I consider probably the weakest division in baseball. And we said this at the beginning of the year. We said that obviously the AL Central is the weakest division. But check this out, dude. The Cleveland Guardians are 50 and 26. The Twins are 43 and 35. and the Kansas City Royals are 42-37.
Yeah, man.
You could see a scenario where literally it's the Royals and the Twins in the wild card with the Orioles.
Which I would like to point out, that was one of my hot takes going into the season.
You were a Royals guy, weren't you?
Yeah, my first hot take was that 3 teams from the AL East were going to make the wild card, but I slightly hedged that because my last hot take was that the Royals would grab one of those. If the AL East doesn't happen, the Royals will grab one of those wild cards, probably the last one. And that one's actually playing out pretty well.
I do love to see this, though, man. I do really love to see this. Right now, the wild card battle is between the Royals, the Red Sox, the Twins, and the Orioles.
I did see that the Red Sox have gotten a bit hot.
They're 42-36, dude.
Yeah, that's annoying. I hate that team. I hate the fact that the Celtics won again is just like, just kill me, please.
Yeah,
I hate that city with every passion of my being.
My team, my Royals pick was the Cubs, and they are 37-41, but only 2 games out of the wild card. But yeah, they've had a lot of injury issues, obviously. But
it's going to be an interesting one. I also got an update that the stadium is pretty much empty for Angels and A's tonight. This is a very light crowd for first pitch, which doesn't surprise me. Who the hell wants to see this team? You know what? I will say this. I did go to Angels-Dodgers at Dodger Stadium on Friday. That was a fun game. That was one of the best.
Angels won, right? Angels won.
They did win 3-2 in extras. Ohtani got thrown out trying to steal, I believe, in the bottom of the 8th, trying to steal. Yes! The Florida Panthers just scored. We're up 2-1, baby. Let's go.
No, they didn't. It's 1-1. Am I behind?
Give it a second.
Oh! Right, dude. I just saw the Oilers almost score a goal, too. It hit the top of the pad of the goalie, and they went right down the freaking ice. Ruining my soul, Heavy T!
Sorry. This is gonna be such a good game. But this is what I was saying. If you're Edmonton, this is the one thing that you couldn't have happen because now you got to speed up. Are they going to run out of gas? So we'll get back to that in a minute.
I want overtime. Give me overtime.
Now I'm trying to remember when's the last time.
I don't think it's ever happened in a game 7.
Overtime in a game 7. I'm legitimately trying to think about it. Also, the last time I can remember an overtime game ended a series was Kings Rangers in 2014. That's the last time I can remember that. But we'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a good one. But real quick, to end the baseball thing real quick, because I got to go.
There's been a lot of overtime game 7. Damn.
Okay.
Has the advantage, though. Yeah.
Well, screw us then. But yeah, to go on the baseball thing, like I said,
we're not the hockey show record, Heavy T.
We're not the hockey show record, but the baseball thing, like I said, all these things that you told me, I did not know a lot of them. And that's because it's Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the way that baseball, like how they market it. I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand Ohtani's the golden goose. Okay, I understand he's a literal worldwide star.
He's not the golden goose for America, though. He's the golden goose for international viewers.
He's the golden goose for international people, and he's the golden goose for Los Angeles.
Correct.
Everywhere else, there's literally
nobody gives a shit about Ohtani in Pittsburgh. Let me tell you, nobody cares.
Yeah, dude, it's so stupid. Like I'm kind of over it. Speaking of Pittsburgh, I did see that the Pirates do come to Dodger Stadium. I think in August or September, and I'm going to try and go for one reason and one reason only, because there is one man who has been able to overcome
Paul Skeens.
If that dude's pitching, I gotta go. I gotta see the believe.
His 8th strikeout was it last night? 100+ miles an hour on his 8th.
Yeah, I think it was like 102 in like the 8th inning or something like that.
Stupid.
Like throwing gas, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to see if his pitching day lines up in that 3-game series.
You gotta go. You gotta go see him.
I have to go.
What's crazy is they're only a game and a half out of the wild card as well, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They're not a terrible team. And you know what?
So therefore, they're going to have to use them and pitch them.
Yeah.
And they can't pull back on them, depending what happens, obviously, during July, because July is really the month that determines which teams and the trade deadline.
You know what? Let me ask you this to end it.
Okay.
Is he an all-star?
Skeens? Yeah.
Yes.
He should be.
I agree too. I think he should be.
Who else on the Pirates? Maybe O'Neal Cruz is the only one I could think about. He's going to be the Pirates representative 100%. Not even.
Well, I was going to say.
Remember, Steven Strasburg, I think, ended up being on the All-Star team after he came up that year for the Nationals.
I think MLB has slowly and very quietly gotten away from the fact that every team has to be represented by at least one person.
No, that's still a thing. They have to.
Because I don't remember oh God, I don't remember who it was. There was somebody that was really. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think it was the Angels last year, or nobody technically represented the Angels. Mike Trout was elected, but he was hurt, so he didn't even show up. So there was no Angels players. Okay, so in that case, you might be right.
Count on your Angels to ruin that trend, my friend.
You know, so ironically, Pittsburgh has 3 potential candidates. So you have Skeens, you have Cruz. Brian Reynolds has been killing it. That dude, yeah, he's been on.
He's like that quiet killer, you know. He's like a 290 average. He's gonna.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago when Houston really needed a center fielder, and I was still working in Houston at the time. I, was still on air over there, and we had the question like, if they're going to trade for a center fielder, who should they trade for? And I had 2 names. Cedric Mullins was one, who I still really like, and I saw it. I'm like, hey,
All-Star last year.
I'm like, there's this kid in Pittsburgh who's slowly becoming really, really good.
Brian Hayes. No,
yeah, and it was, yeah, man. Yeah,
Brian Reynolds.
I called it. Just
long-term deal over there.
Yeah, smart on Pittsburgh's part.
Pittsburgh quietly has a little thing going here with the young players, giving them money, letting them stick around. We'll see how it all plays out.
I just thought about something very interesting. Speaking of Houston, now they're slowly starting to catch fire, but it is going to be very interesting to see where they are at the trade deadline, because for some reason, ownership has still not penned a deal for Kyle Tucker. Do they trade him to rebuild the farm?
Come on, Padres!
That's going to, and any team that gets Kyle Tucker, you are getting an MVP candidate in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be real interesting.
He can play center field too, right? Not just right.
He's played center. He's better in right, but he's played center a little bit.
Yeah, because they had Michael Brantley forever in center, so he had to play right. But I think
Brantley
he came up with center.
Brantley was more in left.
Oh, okay. He's old.
Yeah. Well, Brantley's retired now, so he's gone.
Yeah, I know that. But I'm like this year, I think he's playing more center, isn't he?
No, he's playing right. No, he's playing right.
Who's playing center for the Astros this year?
It's usually
a mix of Chas McCormick
and Jake Myers.
Okay, no wonder they're struggling. That makes sense. Okay, so
yeah.
Anyways, if you haven't heard, Heavy T and myself have a new podcast out. It's called Born to Heal. We had the first episode come out last week. It was kind of like a beta, little live type test on video and also on Spotify. It'll be on Apple Music this week, Apple Podcast. Apple Podcast, you got to go through some hoops to get your stuff on there, man. Let me tell you. But I have it all figured out, and I'm going to put it on SoundCloud and everything else too. You can also catch it on YouTube. Got pretty good viewership for the first one on YouTube, which I was surprised over the audio. But if you like wrestling, you like AEW and WWE more, obviously, because I said AEW first, because this next episode will be more about Forbidden Door. But it's a lot of fun, and people seem to like it. So there you go. Born to Heal. Catch it on Monday. By the way, I know we're live everywhere. We're streaming everywhere. If you just go to MondayNightRants.com, everything's there. It's like your one-stop shop for everything. You get Heavy T's Inept franchise series, including the Raiders one, which is a big hit. You can learn why the Mets suck. More, all sorts of stuff. And also, Born to Heal will be there, the video version and the audio version. You can go right in. So if you're driving your car, you can listen to it or whatever. And it was a lot of fun. And SmackDown was nuts this last week.
I was going to say, I know you just mentioned that we're going to lean a little bit more into AEW.
Just for this one, a little bit.
SmackDown was insane.
Yeah, 70-30. 70-30. this week, and then normally
Yeah.
90-10 going forward.
I will say this. Raw, while well, I will say this because they're about 2 hours into a 3-hour show. While at the moment not as good as last week, because let's be honest, last week was
last week wasn't. Yeah, last week was.
It has still been a very solid show.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I would die for Liv Morgan. Like, I'm just throwing that out
We all
there
know
right
that. We all know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to make a video of just all the clips of you telling everybody how much you love her. Like, I think it'd be funny, just like a minute video of you just like with like Sarah McLachlan in the background.
I've said it once. I've said it again. I will let another Liv destroy my life if it's her.
Okay. If you want to know what he means by that, go to MondayNightRants.com and check out the latest Born to Heal episode, and you'll know exactly what he means by that. And it's quite hilarious. Let me tell you. All right, my friend, I know you got to get back to work there at the FanDuel Studios in LA. And you'll be back next week for another rousing edition of. Someone just said Jay Uso in the chat. Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Uso's eye. He's eye.
6-1 Tennessee Volunteers.
It's over for the Aggies, I fear.
All right, my friend. We'll see you on Thursday for Born to Heal. And then next Monday, of course, what say ye, Heavy T? And everyone can get to see your beautiful face once again. That's at Heavy T on air and your two favorite social media platforms, X and Instagram. And more coming from this man, too, because the Inept franchise series should be coming on its way as well. So here we go, man. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your time. We'll see you next week.
Later.
I love that, man. He is so much fun. He is such a funny guy. I love it. All right, let me turn off these captions. All right. I'm going to talk about this just as long as I can. By as long as I can I mean how I feel about this NBA draft. Last year's draft, as I said before, was absolute terrible. The year before that was great. Actually, we were lucky. 3 years before that, we had great drafts. Players that are all-stars today. Last year, we had Wemby. After Wemby, not a lot. Now, there are some players who became great role players in the first round. I mentioned that the Dallas Mavericks did a really, really good job in their draft, and it turned out that helped them get all the way to the NBA Finals because of it. You can check that video out on MondayNightRants.com. But Scoot Henderson, I was not sure on, and it just seems like when the runner-up to Rookie of the Year after an NBA draft is a dude who was hurt the year before, and Chet Holmgren, who, by the way, could have also won because he had such a great year, there's issues there. But Wemby stole the show. There you go. For some reason this year, the NBA decided, hey, the NFL, man, they did really good splitting the draft up in a couple days. We should probably do the same thing, huh? For A, you only got 2 rounds, NBA. 2 rounds. And B, anybody drafted in the second round in the NBA, the chances of you becoming anything in the NBA are slim. There are very little second round NBA draft picks over the last 20 years that have become an all-star, that have become anything. It is crazy. And yet you want to give us a second night where you expect people to watch the second round of the NBA draft. You are delusional. And the year you're going to do it, NBA, is this year, when arguably the worst NBA draft we have ever seen as far as talent. Are you high? 2 days? Just get it over with in one. Please. No one's watching that second night. And like a couple of years ago, when Bull was sitting in that green room till the second round, if somebody's sitting in the green room, which could happen this time because it's so weak of an NBA draft, the dude has to come back the next day for the second round of the NBA, which is pretty much equivalent to the 6th or 7th round of the NFL draft. Are you high? We don't want it. Keep it in one night. What are you doing? Dumb. So on Wednesday, the first round of the NBA draft will be bestowed upon us. And then on Thursday, don't bother because the second round of the NBA draft will be bestowed upon us. And yeah, dumb. Couple players here to look out for, I guess. Now, like I said, I did a ton of research over the weekend, and I'm looking at these players and seeing like who I compare them to, looking at who everyone else compares them to, seeing what their skills are, looking back at what I saw in the NCAA tournament or in college throughout last season. Some of these guys are obviously from the Ignite, the G League, or whatever, or they're from overseas. So obviously this year is led by two overseas guys, and it's Alex Sarr and Zachary Richer. Now, or Richer, or I know the R is silent. He's French, okay? And the Atlanta Hawks have already clearly made it known that of all the talented guys, or non-talented guys, that they want Richer. So Richer, I think, is going to go number 1 to the Atlanta Hawks, who shouldn't have won, by the way, the lottery, which is a whole nother thing in its own. He's from France. He's 6'9", 204 pounds. He's a very good three-point shooter, so he's tall, he's lengthy. And again, the one thing a lot of teams are going to get from this NBA draft is a lot of defense. This is going to be a very defensive NBA draft. I'm looking at these players and who I compare them to, and a lot of them are defensive. For example, a lot of people are high on UConn sophomore Donovan Clingan. Obviously, he just won back-to-back national championships. I look at everything about his game. I look at his wingspan, the way he plays, shot blocking, off-ball defense, rebounding. He's literally Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year. Okay, great. He could probably go in the top 3. So we're not getting offensive players here in the top 3. We're getting literally defensive players. Another player people like a lot is Reed Sheppard. Obviously, he's from Kentucky. He's a freshman, a 20-year-old freshman, by the way, because he was a transfer redshirt. Also a great defender. And we're talking about people saying he should go number 1. He reminds me of a lot of Derek White, who just won, obviously, the championship with the Celtics, but a very defensive player, a good shooter, but more of a dog. You know what I mean? More of an off-ball defense type of player. And then you keep on going down the list, and it's kind of all the same here. It's Alex Sarr, who's from the other guy from France, who may go in the top 3, should go in the top 3 as well. He reminds me of Jaren Jackson Jr. He won Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. So now we have multiple players who are projected to be in the top 3 or 4 that are all defensive first players. And then like the best offensive player that I could see that could go in the lottery is obviously Dalton Knott. He's from Tennessee. However, he's already 23 years old. He just turned 23. And he does remind me, he's a pull-up scorer. He's a shooter. He can play defense a little bit, but he reminds me a lot of, I hate to say this, but like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Great, right? I mean, he's a good player. He's a good starter, but he's not your third or option. He's your fourth option. Like, it's a very weak draft year. So here's how I think it's gonna lay down and where I think everyone's gonna go. I think the Atlanta Hawks will take Richer first overall because they've already kind of made that known. They could take Clingan here, but I think they're going to go with a guy who can create threes. He's a little bit taller, 6'9", he can play forward. I think that's where you're going. I think the Washington Wizards, I think they go Alex Sarr. Again, he reminds me a lot of just a 7'1" defensive center that can block a lot of shots. He's not going to be exciting to watch. His points per game in France, by the way, only 9.6. That is not good for a player offensively. But again, this is where we are. So I think he goes to second. I think Reed Sheppard, another defensive type guy, goes to Houston. He's the freshman from Kentucky. He reminds me, again, Also, they could take Stephen Castle here. Now, that would be interesting. He's a freshman from Connecticut. Obviously has the championship pedigree. A little bit more of a scorer, but also a little bit of a defensive guy as well. But hey, he's a guard who could facilitate. And that's kind of what San Antonio needs over Houston, because Houston got all those good draft picks last year. So I think they go with Reed Shepherd, who's more of a shooting guard, more of a defensive guy. And I think Stefan Castle lands in San Antonio, which is good because they need that, because Devin Vassell is not that type of guy. He's a great scorer. He cannot facilitate as well as I think Stefan Castle will do, which he did for UConn last year. And then you got Detroit Pistons. I really don't know what they're going to do because, again, this is so weak they can go anywhere. Like, you could rank these guys 1 through 30, and the 30 can go 5th overall because they're so even and not great in this situation. So I have them with Basilius, who's from the G League Ignite, 6'8", three-point shooter. They kind of need that. That's what they lacked last year. They have Ivy. They have a good front court, but they were missing out on the three-point, so they just, why not pull a trigger on the best three-point shooter in the draft? So like that. Then I have my boy Dalton Knott, who I talked about earlier, the senior, who could play defense, spot-up shooter, going to the Hornets, where every player goes to die, it seems like, nowadays. And then Portland, which is interesting, because last year they took Scoot Henderson 2nd overall. Now, he flamed out. He has a whole nother year. He's going to be the starter there. They have no one else. We'll see how it plays out. But if they get Donovan Kling in here, then they get a Rudy Gobert type to add to that team who could kind of help with that front court, which they need, because every time they trade for a big man that goes there, they get hurt and they fail. Donovan Kling in there, I think, could be a good center for them. 7'2", 280, like I said, reminds me of Rudy Gobert. Good defensive shot blocker, could win Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA in not too long. So there you go. Rob Dillingham from Kentucky. Again, the Spurs will have another pick here. Or Toronto could all. Trades are very interesting this year in this draft, because what players are willing to trade up for what players, because it's such a weak draft year? Are we going to see teams go all in? You know, like, what are teams that don't have any draft picks, like the Clippers, going to do? Especially when, like I said, 1 through 30 are kind of all ranked the same. So the Toronto Raptors need something, right? They're rebuilding, but this is not the draft year to completely rebuild around a franchise player. Now, if they do keep the pick or trade into this area or trade back, this is where the Zach Edey thing gets really interesting. He's Canadian. He's going to draw people because of what he did in college. He's a big guy, obviously. So if Toronto could somehow end up with Zach Edey in this draft, it would help with the whole rebuild process and probably help sell seats, because he could be an exciting player in the NBA because of how big he is, for being able to go two-way, run down the court, for how big he is, could be interesting. So I think there's a chance there that Zach Edey gets picked to Toronto. I've seen people say Zach Edey goes to the Lakers. But the biggest question here about this NBA draft, and what everyone's talking about, this is how weak of an NBA draft this is. It's the biggest story is not who's going first, not who's going second. You probably, half the guys I just told you about, you've probably never heard of. But you've heard of Bronny James. That's right. Bronny James is the biggest story in this NBA draft, because he's A, LeBron's son, and B, will he be drafted to the Lakers and play with LeBron? Will LeBron even be on the Lakers? Is LeBron happy with this JJ Redick coaching pick? We don't know. Now, I know Bronny James had his injury and his heart issue where he was forced off the court for a long time. So, shout out to him. I don't want to see that happen to any young player or any young person ever. But he still wasn't the best of players at USC. And USC, even though they had a 5-star freshman in Bronny, they had a really bad year last year. And they did not play well. He did not play well when he was healthy. And everyone's talking about this fantastic Bronny James combine he had for the NBA. But compared to what? Because it's a weak draft year. So I kind of feel there's going to be teams reaching for Bronny in this one, which makes sense. If you're going to reach for media exposure, if you're going to reach for media exposure and selling more tickets and more merch, this is the year to do it. This is the year to do it because it's that week of a draft year where why not? Why not trade up to 5 and pick Bronny James? Media exposure, more games on TV, more jersey sales, everything. And maybe even LeBron James. Probably not. But still, this is the year to do it because you're willing to trade talent for exposure to your team, where a lot of these NBA teams don't have any exposure. The Orlando Magic made the playoffs last year, had a really good season, and nobody knows. Some of these teams need exposure. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a big trade up on Wednesday night in the first round from some team, a secret team, to trade up and draft Bronny James just for the exposure, for the jersey sales, for the ticket sales, because you have one of the best basketball players of all time, son, who is still playing in the NBA. I want to be surprised. And this is the year to do it. This is the year any team can afford to do it because you're not missing out on that much in the draft when everybody is ranked so close together. So that's the drama. The drama for the draft, as I just mentioned, my top 5 or who's going. The drama is where's Bronny James going? And doing my rankings and everything, he's not even in my top 20. And he's probably going to go in the top 10 for that reason. All right, my fellow ranters. Have fun watching the draft on Wednesday. Do not watch the second round on Thursday. If you do, you have problems. No, I'm just kidding. If you want to watch the second round on Thursday, go ahead. But just know that USA is playing in the Copa America. You should probably watch that instead. I love you all. I do have some exciting news. I will be putting up the sign-up form on MondayNightRants.com for the second annual Guillotine League for the NFL. That's right. I will take 18 of you, 18 of the best in the world, to have a chance to win cash and Ultimate Supreme of Guillotine Winner. It is hard to do. It is hard to do. Each week, a team gets cut. You have the lowest points that week, you are cut. All your players go to free agency, and we all have a swap meet to figure out who gets who on the waiver wires. It is a lot of fun. I'll be putting out the form for that. It's first come, first serve. It's probably sell out within a week. I'll probably not get it live till next Monday, and then when it goes live, I will announce it, and then within 2 days, we'll have all 18 players. So get in where you fit in, my fellow ranters. Get in where you fit in. We're going to be doing the draft live on this show, probably sometime in August, and probably early August. And that show is always a lot of fun as well as we critique people's drafting abilities. That's where Taj McGowan became such a staple of this show. Enjoy the third period where definitely the Oilers will come back and win. Enjoy this as Texas A&M is coming back on Tennessee right now, trying to steal the World Series from them. Enjoy your week. Don't forget to catch out Born to Heal. Catch out. Don't forget to catch up on. Don't forget to catch Born to Heal, our wrestling podcast under the Monday Night Rants brand this Thursday as well. And enjoy your week of sports. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back next Monday for more Monday Night Rants and have a great time doing it. Also have a special guest next Monday, and we're going to be playing a little game. It's going to be a lot of fun. From myself, from Heavy T, from Thomas Stevens, from All the Better Sports Network, from everybody here on Monday Night Rants, we say, have a good week, my fellow ranters. And as always, shout out to our boy, Taj McGowan. Oilers in 7.